Nebraska hits the transfer portal once again, getting Georgia tight end Arik Gilbert. And in my opinion, this is a huge addition to this Nebraska team. They're getting a prospect, a transfer who was at one time the highest rated tight end to come out of high school football. He's had some issues that have kept him off the field, but if Nebraska's able to get him on the field, I think they have a potential impact player here in Arik Gilbert. So what we're going to do here is what I've done with a lot of my transfer videos is I'm going to break down the tape and we're going to look at what Nebraska is getting in Arik Gilbert. Now, right off the bat, the first thing I love is this clip right here against Missouri. Arik Gilbert's lined up in line as that traditional tight end. And they're going to just run a simple corner out, nice little release. And this throw is going to be a little underthrown. And this is what I love about Arik Gilbert. And I love when tight end prospects do this, is he jumps up and he goes and gets that ball. And I hate when receivers let it come to them or they try to catch with their body. Nope, he knows that, hey, I'm big, I'm athletic, I'm just going to go up and make this tough catch. And this is why I'm so excited for Arik Gilbert to Nebraska, is he can just be a matchup nightmare. We look at this, first things first, they're going to try and cover him using their middle linebacker. And here you have a guy that's, 6'4", 6'5", extremely athletic, and he just leaves him in the dust. If that ball was thrown out in front of him, he could have caught that, gone up the sideline. Regardless, he just goes up and makes an athletic move for the ball and just makes a big-time play. And that's what you get excited for when you see Arik Gilbert is transferring to Nebraska. It's plays like this and those big-time plays that really get you going. When I watch Arik Gilbert's tape, his speed really stands out. Here against Texas A&M, he's lined up in the slot, and he's not going to run anything super fancy here. He's just going to run straight down the field, a seam route, if you want to call it that, go route. And he's able to just burst off this line and just look at how him compared to those other two receivers. His just explosion off the ball. He's already at the 5 yards down the field where this receiver's only 2, he's only 3. And he's able to just push deep and just hit his speed down the middle of the field just draws attention. And so what I like here is that you can use that to your advantage. Just think of, split defenders and you get a deep ball to him for a long touchdown. It's just his playmaking ability and the ability for Nebraska to stretch the field with him at that tight end position, controlling the middle of that field. Because as we see here, he's drawing both of these. Not only is he drawing both of these two safeties, but he's also getting this nickel defender. There's also defensive back there. So in essence, he's drawing 3 guys, and this is he's a freshman at this point, and he's drawing all 3 of these defenders. And so not only is that showing his athleticism and his speed and all that, but this also allows the other receivers to kind of get open. And yes, you want to hit him on some deep balls. You want to get him involved. But his skill set and his threat of a big play opens up this middle. And as you see here with LSU, they hit this guy right here for this catch. And look at all this open room right here, all because Arik Gilbert was able to basically take 3 players out of the play. Now, because Arik Gilbert has this ability to be a threat down the field, down the seam, he uses that to set up his underneath routes. These defensive backs, because also he's a tight end, an athletic tight end, they're not going to line up and press on him. They're going to give him a little leeway. And Gilbert uses this well, as we see here. He's going to push this guy deep, do a little hesitation, and a quick foot out. Gets this defensive back to move, and then he's able to just make a quick inside cut to get that catch. We see it on this very next clip. He's lined up right here. And this isn't just like, I'm going to push you deep and roll inside. He's able to sink these hips and be quick outside. And he wasn't targeted on that play. But as we just see both of these clips back to back, he's able to just go at full speed, sink those hips quick, and he's making precise cuts inside. This is the one I like the best. He's able to sink those hips and really just cut hard inside. And I know the ball was out early to that receiver, but he was in a position where he got open. And you got that speed to push deep, but then you've got the ability to make quick, precise, hard cuts inside. That's going to really kind of make defenders put them back on their heels when they don't know what to do. We see another example of that quick in on this game against Vanderbilt. Here he is lined up just inside the kind of like an inline, a little bit detached. And the same thing, he's just going to be able to go out, sink those hips, control that middle of the field, and get the first down there. And it's just that ability. Hey, I'm going to push you deep. We see here, this defender is who has Arik Gilbert. He's seeing him push deep. He's backpedaling. He's like, I don't want to get beat on this deep route. And Gilbert's able to sink those hips, go inside, and look at that cushion that he had, all because of his ability to win down the field. So I showed you plenty of in-breaking routes. Another route that he uses well is the slant here against Vanderbilt once again. Just quick slant inside for this catch. And that's the thing about Gilbert. And you see this a lot with NFL teams. When you have an athletic tight end and you put him in the slot, he just becomes an instant matchup nightmare. I mean, just think of the Denver Broncos when they had Peyton Manning. They used this with Julius Thomas quite a bit. Once again, a defensive back has to play. Like, who are you gonna guard him with? You're gonna guard him with a nickel corner, a guy that's probably like 5'9", 5'10". He's just gonna use his size and strength to just bully him. You're gonna put a linebacker on him. We've seen you put a linebacker on him, he's gonna run past him. And so you put him in the slot here. That defensive back's got to go off of him, and you just quick cut, use his size to his advantage to seal him off, and this should be a first down, red zone, touchdown machine. And then one more clip of him as a pass catcher. Here he's going to run like a shallow cross, and it just shows once again his athleticism to make him a run after the catch. He's able to just make that catch, blow through two defenders' tackle attempts to get those extra yards. We see it here from the end zone view. Just quick little cut inside, nice little crosser, splits those two guys, and just shows his strength, shows his athleticism, and it's a guy that he can win at all three levels. He can win deep with his speed. He can win with that intermediate, using those quick sinking his hips and those quick cuts. And then he can win on the short right here. Just get the ball to him in some space, and he can use that size and that power to make plays. All right, and then finally, I want to talk about him as a blocker, because Nebraska under Matt Rule so far, they've stressed and talked about they want to run the ball, and the Nebraskas need to run the ball in the Big Ten, especially later on in the season when it gets colder. And if Arik Gilbert's going to be a big-time player for Nebraska, he's got to be able to block, because you can't just throw him on the field on pass plays because you're limiting, you're just tipping your hand. And so LSU threw him out into the wolves as a freshman. He blocked a lot, and here against LSU or Texas A&M, he's lined up here on the edge, traditional tight end, and he's able to engage. And I'm not going to say he's this strong, powerful blocker, but he works hard and he puts himself in a position. And I like this play, how he's able to seal off and can kind of control that defensive end. Here against Oregon when he's at LSU, when he's at with Georgia, he's lined up right here, and he's able to seal off, and he did get pushed back a little bit, but it just shows his ability to fight. And then here we have a clip of him kind of cutting in inside and being kind of almost like a lead blocker. And these clips just show, I think, his competitive toughness, his ability to mix it up. He's not afraid of contact. He's not afraid. He's going to loop in here and take on the middle linebacker. And he's not a polished premier blocker, But I think when you have that competitive toughness and that willingness to go in and block, I think they can improve on things. And a lot of the two clips from LSU, he's a true freshman. Okay? The Georgia clip was only technically his second season in college football. So he's a guy that's a willing blocker. I think if he continues to get stronger, they work with him on technique, he can only get better. But you can't teach that competitive toughness. As you can see from that tape, there's a lot to like about Arik Gilbert. Anytime you get an athlete at his size that's shown the ability to produce at the college level, you have to be excited. Now, we do have to talk about the elephant in the room, and he hasn't played a lot since his freshman year at LSU. He, as I said, freshman All-American at LSU, looked like one of the next great tight ends, but then transfers to Georgia, where he was originally from, and doesn't play at all his first year at Georgia. And then this past year, barely got to see the field. And I know some people will say, well, yeah, of course he didn't see the field. They had two tight ends ahead of him that were really good. Yes, they do. Both of their tight ends that they had in front of them were really good. Darnell Washington, massive guy. He's probably going to be a top 50 pick in the 2023 NFL draft. Brock Bowers, best tight end in college football. But Arik Gilbert, his skill set is in a spot where, you could get all three of those guys out on the field at the same time. So I'm not buying this whole, he was just behind two other good guys. No. You could put him in the slot. You could put Bowers in the slot. You could put Washington. You can get all three of those guys in. And you could also get Gilbert rotating in with those guys. And that wasn't happening. So there was some off-the-field issues. I don't want to speculate on what those are. It was reported by On3 that there was some mental health stuff that was a big thing when he came to Nebraska on his visit, getting him that help or whatever. I'm hoping that, getting maybe away, getting to a new environment, a place like Lincoln, will be good for Arik Gilbert. And if Nebraska can get him on the field, I think he can be a difference maker for the Huskers. I mean, you're getting a guy that could be a top 15, potentially a top 10 pick as a tight end. I mean, if you look at the tight ends that have been drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, Kyle Pitts went fifth or fourth or sixth, or he went fourth overall to the Atlanta Falcons. That's the highest a tight end's ever gone. And while Arik Gilbert, I don't think he's as good of an athlete as Kyle Pitts is, he's not far behind. And if we look at guys like TJ Hawkinson, Vernon Davis, those are guys that have gone in that, at the tail end of the top 10. He's a much better athlete than those guys. And so if he can get out there for a full season, I think Gilbert has a shot to be a top first-round pick in the NFL draft. And I think he can be a difference maker in the Big Ten. All right, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. Hopefully you enjoyed this. The best way to get this is to subscribe. So make sure you do that. Make sure you follow me on social media. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time.